All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to class, or welcome to lab, rather. Um, so, what I want you to do today is um, go through the first five examples of the book on your own from chapter 6. Let me just quickly identify what I want you to do. So, I will upload the examples for you onto the lab folder that I will create in a few minutes. Um, but what I want is uh, for you to uh, open up chapter 6 of the book. If you don't have the PDF version of the book, you can basically go and download it from um, the content section of the course and download this from the books folder. The book that we are basically going to be using for the lab is Mastering Concurrency by Juan Nguyen, right? So um, it's chapter 6, working with processes in Python. And I've already discussed the theory. I'm not going to go through the code one by one. I think that you know enough already to be able to kind of look at the code yourself and to be able to run this. So what I would suggest is, go through the code. So start from example one. Um, do example one, try to understand what it does. Um, then go to example two, and then if you need help, you can read the text as well in the book. So read that too. Then try out example two. Try to understand what these examples do. Then example three seems pretty straightforward. And then finally example 4, and then example 5 I think was also doable. So these 5 examples, example 5 of course is related to example 5. It's pretty much the same thing except that the main module is changed. So example 4 has a different main module, but the functions are the same. So you just need to replace the main module with example 5 and give that a go. So spend the time in the lab basically going through these 5 examples, and I actually have to go somewhere today, so I won't be able to stick around for the whole lab. But um, if you want your attendance to be marked, then maybe stay for the entire duration, or at least stay for half of the time of the lab. Um, so maybe stick around until uh, for about 50 minutes since you joined. And that will mark your attendance. But go through these 5 examples, and then I will post the lab questions whenever I get time. Hopefully, that should be later today sometime. So it should not be too difficult, but I want you to go through these examples, and then um, I'll share the lab quiz or the lab questions later. Okay. So let me just create a folder for this, and then I'll share that with you, and you can basically start working on these examples. If you already have the code downloaded from GitHub, you can basically download it and basically just run the code. Just one thing that I probably want to identify. Um, so for running the code, I think with multiprocessing, when you try to run the code, it doesn't really work with Spider or some sort of other IDE. So I would recommend that you basically uh, run these in the command line. So if you see these examples here now, I think I tried running these examples in Spider, and they weren't really giving the sort of output that I wanted or that was expected. And it's probably because of some differences or the way that Spider implements something. I'm sure there's a workaround to it, but what you can do is just, if you run these examples in the command line, if you go to where the code is and then just open the command line at that path and then maybe just execute these examples, then they execute just fine. So you can see that on the command line they work just fine. So if in your IDE, whether you're using Spider or whether you're using PyCharm or even if you're using something else, in case the examples don't work, um, just go ahead and run them in the command line and it should work in the command line. Okay. So I want you to do examples 1 through 5. So the first 5 examples um, of chapter 6 from the book. So I want you to go through these. 6, 7, and 8, I will discuss them in class, hopefully tomorrow if I get time to finish the lecture slides. And you can then do 6, 7, and 8 in the next lab. So I'm just going to upload these examples just in case if somebody does not have this. So I'm going to create a folder for this lab in the content part, and upload these there. So I'm doing that right now. Okay, so all 5 examples have been uploaded. Let me quickly show you where they are. Uh, so if you go to the content part of the lab and click on Lab 7 multiprocessing, you'll see that you have all 5 examples there. So you can basically download them from there and basically play around with them. And of course, if you want to read the book, um, just go to the course, go to the content folder, and in there you have this folder containing the books, and this is the book that I want you to use. So if you want to read up on some of the background, you can read it from the book. So, and I advise that you do that because just running the examples is not sufficient. I mean, if you want to develop some concepts, then read up on some of the theory as well, because the questions are basically going to be related to that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to mute my mic now, and in fact, step away from my desk for a few minutes, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. But please keep working, um, and and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm around. I will be back after a few, maybe after 10, 15 minutes. So get started on the examples and I'll be back. after 10-15 minutes, and then if you need any help, maybe we can discuss then, and then afterwards, if I have to leave, I'll let you know when I do. Okay, so please start working on the examples.